years ago with my good friend John. Unfortunately, John has passed away. He was a Villanova graduate, but we got to go in and spend a little time with Jay Wright. I'm friends with his college roommate, so mutual friends. It's a great day.
Very cool. All right, so we're a couple of minutes after the hour, so why don't we get started? Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Gary Hulfish, and on behalf of my co-chairs, Bill Brooks, Jen Grenier, Rich Horstman, welcome to our second Transportation and Aviation Subcommittee meeting of 2020. Our committee was off to a good start this year. In February, we hosted Jennifer Marandino, the Executive Director of the South Jersey Transportation Planning Organization, and John Ward, the Deputy Executive Director of the DVRPC, and they gave a great overview of their respective programs in South Jersey. John is an active member of our transportation subcommittee, so I really appreciate John and Jennifer making that presentation. As you can imagine, many organizations over the last few months have been struggling, right? And our committee's been a little inactive due to the whole COVID-19, but that certainly isn't the case for the New Jersey Turnpike Authority or the South Jersey Transportation Authority, as they both passed historic toll increases that are going to fund sustainable capital programs for their agencies for years to come. So we're all super excited about that and really looking forward to the presentation today. But before we introduce today's speaker, just wanted to welcome and say hello to Steve Doherty. And of course, he's the Executive Director of the NJTA. And I think Steve Mazur is on as well, the Chief Engineer. Hopefully you guys can join us this summer and give a similar presentation and update on all things SJTA. We really would appreciate that. So just a few housekeeping items. Please keep your phones on mute. And if you want to move your mouse around on the left side, if you want to zoom in, there's a zoom in and zoom out feature. There's also the third button down on the bottom. There's a hot button down there. There's a red X. Don't hit that one, but there's another one, the third one over. It's a chat feature. So during the presentation today, if you have any questions, just shoot me a chat, and then we'll discuss those once John's finished with his presentation. And then, so with that, let Bill Brooks introduce our speaker. You're on mute.
Keller, Executive Director, for joining us today. So John has been with the authority for over 22 years, with an additional 10 years of consulting service prior to joining. So he definitely understands what it's like to be one of us here. So as Executive Director, John's responsible for managing both the New Jersey Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway roadways and his 2,000 employees. Two roadways combined are the highest revenue toll roads in the nation, with nearly $1.8 billion in annual revenues. Prior to being named Executive Director, John managed several large-scale capital program projects. He served as the authority's program manager for the $2.3 billion Interchange 6 to 9 widening program, which at the time was the largest infrastructure project of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. The widening program constructed 170 new lane miles of Turnpike mainline, over 100 structures, 4 miles of noise barriers, and 140 sign structures. It was delivered below budget and completed per its original program schedule. John was also the program manager on the $550 million facility improvement program that constructed or rehabilitated more than 50 maintenance, toll, and New Jersey State Police buildings along both the Turnpike and the Parkway, including the state-of-the-art Central Services facility. John's accomplishments also include the oversight of the $300 million Interchange 15X project, constructed a new interchange on the Eastern Spur, providing access to the New Jersey Transit Secaucus Rail Station and Potter's Field Disinterment Project, single largest disinterment contract ever performed in the U.S. John received his bachelor's degree from Indiana Institute of Technology in 1987. He served as president of the North Central New Jersey section of American Society of Highway Engineers in 2000 and 2001, and was a regional director in 2002. He co-founded, along with ACEC New Jersey and UTCA, the charitable Thunder Road Golf Outing, which is celebrating its 11th year, and was instrumental in creating the Engineering Exchange. It's a highly collaborative event attended by engineering consultant community, New Jersey DOT, New Jersey DEP officials, and the authority's engineering department. It's aimed at streamlining authority processes and procedures. So John received recognition from the New Jersey Alliance for Action in 2012 and again in 2018 as an Eagle Award recipient. ASCE recognized John in 2004 as Government Engineer of the Year, and again in 2018 with the Service to the People Award. ACEC New Jersey presented John their Distinguished Service Award in 2019. John also received an Exceptional Service Award from the state of New Jersey and has been published in the Images of America, the New Jersey Turnpike. He's a 2019 IBTTA Leadership Academy graduate and was also involved in IBTTA's peer-to-peer and 2020 immersion programs. So either I need to get faster at reading or John, you need a shorter bio. But anyway, with that, I would like to present John.
Thank you very much, Bill. I think Bill took all my time, so I appreciate it. We'll go right to the Q&A portion. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today to the South Jersey Development Council. I didn't know that much about your organization when Bill originally came to me and asked if I'd be interested in speaking, and I have done some checking up on you, and it's a very worthwhile organization, so I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. Further, we introduced Steve Doherty early on. South Jersey Transportation Authority and the New Jersey Turnpike Authority have really forged a very good relationship over the years, and I think it's to the benefit of the motoring public. Steve and I get together periodically, and through this whole toll hearing process, we spoke a lot, and our two programs kind of mirrored each other on going through this. And I look forward to working with Steve Doherty, Steve Mazur moving forward. I think as soon as they got rid of Sam Donaldson, they got a lot of work going down there. So, sorry about that. And Steve Doherty, if at any point here you want to hop in something, please feel free. I just want to give a little overview of where we were with the toll hearing, the whole process. The authority got, a little bit of a kick in the shins on this whole process, and I get that. For the general public to see when we went ahead with our toll hearings and through all that during the COVID period, it did look like we were a callous agency, and it was far from it. I mean, the process started back in 2018, working with our GCE HNTB, and what we did a little different this time is we got all of our different groups within the authority, tolls, operations, maintenance, involved, IT, not just engineering, because a lot of the projects you're going to see on a list that we'll go through in a minute are not just strictly engineering projects. A lot of them are, but not all of them. Certain sections of our roadways could look beautiful, but there's a high accident propensity. So operations said, hey, we need to look at this. Same thing with maintenance. If we're having issues with drainage or lights being out, we need to add that to our program. So this was a very collaborative effort that started back in 18. In August of 19, we really started talking about numbers and what percentage and where are we going with all this and how do we roll it out, and did a lot of work with our traffic engineer, CDM Smith, to what projections. Previous toll hearings or toll increases that the authority had were in 2008 and 2012. It was a two-step. And both of those on both roadways were in the 40% and 50%. So it was, between the two of them, was darn close to 100% toll increase. So we didn't need that at this point, and we tried to stay as modest as possible. And that's how we settled on the 36 and 27% on the roadway. And of course, Steve has the 36% down in South Jersey. So these numbers work together. and it took quite the process. We went to our February 2020 board meeting for approval to move ahead with the toll hearing process. If you think back to February, COVID was a couple of cases happening out in Washington, Seattle, Washington at the time. And so we got that approval. Then you have to put it in the newspapers. And by the time we actually were ready to go to the public hearings on March 18th, it was really starting to hit here. And that's when you can't have more than 50 people in a room, and it was changing daily. We did not know, and we still don't know, when this process was going to be over. And I'm sure South Jersey had the similar thinking. Do we stop now and wait, or are we waiting a month, a week, a year? So it was a conscious decision to move ahead, and we made all the accommodations we could for people calling in and being able to see the hearings and be part of it virtually. And I know South Jersey did similarly. And that actually was a wonderful thing, because I think more people were able to view, to comment, to pull all of our information off of our website than if it was a normal, March day, because people would be at work and they wouldn't have had that experience. So in general, we went through the process. I really commend the Governor Murphy and Transportation Commissioner Scacchetti. They, moving the actual implementation date back to September 13th. This is going to be a phenomenal stimulus as we get out of COVID for the transportation industry, for the state of New Jersey. So I really feel good about where we're at. I don't think anybody other than the transportation industry is going to jump up and down and say, great, these toll roads have increased their tolls. But when you look at it, it's really fairly modest. Is it Ben who is changing my slides?
Yes.
Can you go to the second slide, please? So I want to talk a little bit about what we've done in the past, and then I'll tie that into the future. A little hard to read. You can zoom up. All this stuff, by the way, that's here is also on our website under toll hearing materials. So if you ever want to go through and get a little bit more information on specific projects and also the display boards that were at the toll hearing, please do so on our website. But basically what this is 2008, we put together a list actually very quickly of 34 potential projects or programs that we were looking to do. Ben, if you'd go to the next slide, please. They did total $7 billion. What this slide shows is those 34, the two in yellow are two projects that we actually deferred to this program. And then we had monies left over. On the bottom, we added 7 projects. So we said we were going to do 34. We did 32, and then we added 7 more. So in total, we did 39 projects. So I think it's important to the people of New Jersey to understand that we are going to do what we say we are. And I think it's a great track history. I had the great fortune of going into New York to the bonding rating agencies. And when they see this slide, they get very excited about that, because it's not just pie in the sky stuff. We will do what we said we're going to do, and we're going to do it on time to the best of our abilities. So this is kind of sets the track history that, the authority used the last $7 billion wisely. And we feel that we have the wherewithal, and we've made even more improvements to be able to deliver this 2020 project as well. Ben, if you would, please. The other thing that came about is the toll hearings. You guys are crazy. You're too expensive to begin with. And this slide here shows 48 toll agencies across America and their average cost per mile. So there's 47 of them. Right now, the Parkway, I have my note, I believe is number 13, which includes the 27% increase. So you can see the yellow on top of the green. So where we're at and where we're going to, it basically comes from about 4.5 cents a mile to 6 cents a mile. And we are in the bottom third of all toll roads in America for the Parkway. The Turnpike is a little bit to the right of that, and squarely in the middle third, it's in the 27 percentile. And I'm very proud of this slide. and Steve Doherty has one that's similar, and he should be equally proud of where South Jersey is on this list as well. But we're the most densely populated state in the nation. So when you think of the extra costs that we have in order to do construction at night, just to close lanes is a problem. The extra utilities that we bump in, right-of-way costs from the fact that, you know, as compared to some of our sister toll agencies that might be in the middle of Oklahoma that can just buy a field next to them, and we have a lot of additional costs. So for our roads, and to be where they're at for cost per mile, the Turnpike actually raises to 16 cents a mile on average. North Jersey is a little more, South Jersey is a little less. And since I'm speaking to South Jersey, we did that on purpose to save you some. But really, that the density, if you got off of our roadways, what other parallel roads, there's a whole equation. But in general, that is a true statement that the South Jersey cost per lane mile is less than the North Jersey, but they're fairly close. And that's the number of bridges that we have up north to get over other roadways, all that. So that is kind of where we say, oh, you're way too expensive. That's not the case, and I'm very proud of this slide. Ben, if you will. So I said we made some improvements from 2008 to now. I mean, one of the biggest improvements is that we have Diane Scicchetti as our commissioner. She brought a lot of good ideas back from Florida. She knows New Jersey very well. She sat in my seat for many years, so that she knows the Turnpike Authority. And the concept of a strategic plan, we actually started that prior to Diane coming back, but we pushed it through during Diane's term here. So it started, we approved it late 2019. And this is a really good document when you look at our goals and our missions moving forward. And it gives us something that we can look at ourselves and say, are we progressing in these areas? And we do hold our directors to this. When we talk about safety, so are we down on accidents? How can we improve that number? Or how's our rideability of our roadway? And I think we've seen some tremendous increases in improvement over the last couple of years. I'm not patting myself on the back. I just think that with my background in engineering, I tend to focus quite a bit on our roadway. Not to say that previous executive directors may have been better at finance and all that, but to me, I ride our roads as a customer. And in fact, I was saying this before, I rarely have to drive on our roads anymore because my wife drives, because I am calling back to the traffic management center and our maintenance people, pick this up, do that. I drive them crazy, but at least they know that I care. I am on our roads. I'm sure they say, oh, Keller's going down to the shore house, so for the next hour, we're going to get a lot of calls. But I will not pass somebody on the side of the road in distress, pulling that in, or stopping on the side of the road to help those people. If you will, Ben, please. So moving forward with respect, this is really the next slide is the state of New Jersey and all of the projects that we're looking to do. If you have a second, if you can pull that forward, I appreciate that. Thank you. Steve's Road's on there too. So this is a very consistent map that we've had. It shows 43 projects on the left, and the top 11, 12 or so are what I'll call state of good repair projects. Those are the ones that I feel that we will be rolling out as quickly as possible. Median barrier, fixing MSE walls, and we're going to do a lot of bridge rehab work. Typically, we do about 40 bridges a year, redecking. We're going to do significantly more in the years to come. We're going to roll those out using a variety of concepts that I'll talk about in a second. But in the first year or two, we're going to really push these types of projects while we're doing final design for the other ones. As you can see on the list, right after the first 12 are several Parkway Southern interchanges that we're looking to basically complete. There's a lot of interchanges you can only get off going if you're going southbound and not northbound, and we need to complete all those movements. So interchange 6, 13, 17, 20, 29, 40, we're looking at in those areas of doing them. It's not necessarily the exact prioritization that you see on that list, but we're going to be looking at all of them. We feel that we have the ability to get some of those projects out quickly. The other thing that we've learned that Diane brought back from Florida with us is the 5-year rolling concept of projects. When we did 2018, it was a 10-year, here's all the work, figure it out and go ahead and do it. What we're going to do now is look at everything on a 5-year cycle. So when we do our annual budgets, which we're starting now for 2021, we're going to tell you what we're going to do for the next 5 years. And when the first year is over, we'll tell you year 6 and keep on going. I think it's important to do that because if I'm sitting in your seat, you will see what projects are coming out, what you can target to go for from a designer. Hey, this is an important project. The authority is going to start it in 2 years or 3 years. Let me do a little background research on it and be prepared to go once the OPS process starts. So I think that's very big. The other thing that's really important with this program that we have is the 3% indexing. 3% doesn't sound all that much. And in the past, you really couldn't do it when everything was tolls, cash related. You know, you can't say 50 cents and the next year is 51 cents. Sam, check my math. That's exactly right. But now with Easy Pass, somebody pays $2 and next year it's 206. And nobody really is going to argue about 3% because there's cost of living and it's not necessarily tied into CPI or any of that. But when you are approximately a $2 billion industry at this point, 6% or 3% is $60 million. You can do a lot with $60 million. You can basically bond to get $1 billion a year. And that's what we're targeting, to have a capital program, which is approximately $1 billion a year. To put that in context, the last capital program we had, even though we were rolling out all these projects for not just the 6 to 9 widening, but other projects, the Parkway widening and bridge work, we only had 1 year over $1 billion. We had a lot of years, the 800-900 million range, and we are currently south of $500 million a year. So we're very excited about that opportunity to be able to put out approximately $1 billion every single year. It's a little bit of a misnomer that you see in the newspapers. Oh, it's a $24 billion program. It's really not, because there's no end to this program. So if you want to think of it as a 50 billion over 50 years kind of deal, that's what it is. So I think what happened is everybody just took all the list of projects we had, did all the math. Yeah, they do total up to $24 billion. But that's because we looked at like a 20-year, and that's what we'll spend, and we'll keep on adding to it. So it really will necessitate practically no additional increased toll hearings, because we're allowed to step that in by 3% per year, which is really the way to do it. With Easy Pass, you can do it. Cash collections, not so much. And we'll talk about Easy Pass. AET is coming to New Jersey. And we have a game plan of how we're eventually going to step that in. And over the years between our 3 roadways, South Jersey, the AC Expressway, Parkway, and the Turnpike, that's the order we're thinking. And I will let, in the future, I'm sure you're going to have Mr. Doherty and Mr. Mazur on to speak about more, and they can provide some details there. So anyway, we have 43 projects on the list. There's also a very significant project that we're looking to do in South Jersey, interchange 1 to 4 widening of the Turnpike. Now, I'm a central to North Jersey guy, but I do drive our roads. And if you go down there, the difference between right now, it's only 2 lanes in each direction. It is very difficult for our maintenance people to go out and do work and shut down a lane, because you're down to 1 lane then. So going from 2 lanes to 3 is going to be significant. It's obviously a 50% increase. Sam, do the math for me. 50% going from 2 to 3, that it really works out. And it'll give us much more opportunity. We're also going to add in there, I guess I'm taking my executive privilege on this. We're going to put in the grade separated U-turns. I'll tell you, the worst thing that is for this job is to get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning that there's been a fatality on our road. and it happens, and it shouldn't, and it's, I think, avoidable. Down in South Jersey, you can't make a U-turn grade separated. There's actually breaks in the center median. That's insanely dangerous to do, and it's bad for our maintenance people, and our interchanges are 8-10 miles apart there. So when we ask everybody to go up to the next interchange and make a U-turn, that's easier said than done. So we're going to add some grade separated U-turns in there, like we have all the way from interchange 6 north when we have the inner and outer roadways. So if I'm sitting in your seat, I said, all right, Keller's done a lot of talking. Let's talk dollar signs so I understand what's coming up. First of all, if you go to our website, you will see a list of projects that we're going to put out. That yet been updated with capital program projects in there. We will do that in the near future. See, I'm getting good about not saying 2 weeks because it won't happen in 2 weeks. So near future, what does that mean? So probably by the end of the summer, it'll be out there. The state of good repair projects that we have, we are going to look to use consultants that we already have on board. We're going to consider supplements. We're going to consider using our on-calls, our GCE. We're looking at a variety of ways to deliver these projects. There is virtually no way that we can go from nothing to $1 billion next year. Going through the process, you have to get a consultant on board. Then you go through a design phase, construction advertisement. That doesn't happen in 6 months. The quickest design is typically a year. A larger, more complex one could be 3 or 4 years. The authority prides itself on the ability to deliver projects quickly. And we do not have design build in front of us. A lot of people think that the Turnpike widening was done design build, and it almost was. We had projects going out that maybe moved earthwork while we were dropping back and designing bridges. We had contracts that just did cutting down all the trees, which we had to replace in kind and then some. So that's a whole different story. But how did we deliver the projects? The Turnpike widening was actually 8 design firms, but we put out 31 different contracts in order to move things ahead. So we prioritized how we were purchasing right away, and we got the right away in certain areas, and we moved out a contract. So it wasn't design build, but it was done with how can we do this as quickly as possible. So the same involved back with the Turnpike widening is speaking now, and I'm very aggressive on how do we bring projects to the fore as quickly as possible. I'm never the smartest guy in the room, but I will talk with anybody. And I think what happened last time is we got in front of the good people at ECNJ, which is really you guys here, and in front of the contractors. And we said, this is what I want done. How do we get that done? And we worked with the consultants and also the contractors very well. In case we had to do 25% SBEs, we had to do is our mandate, which is very difficult when you're looking at a $2.5 billion program. So we met with the consultants, and we did two of our 8 contracts were set aside for SBEs. And when we were all done, we actually hit 27%, and which is not bad out of $160 million of design that we did on the Turnpike widening. Gary, I can't do that math. Do that 27 to 60. But it comes.
I need
I give you the hard ones, Gary. Sam gets the easy one.
Wait a minute, I got my calculator.
We're gonna do stuff like that. We also bundled projects where I felt on certain projects were consistent. So we did one procurement and we brought on 4 different consultants. That's huge for you guys, I would assume, because I sat in your seat. Writing proposals is right up there with root canal, and it costs more than root canal. So we don't like reading them. We just want to get the best consultants on board and start our work. So we had solicitations where we had one OPS, our one procurement, and we brought on 4 different design firms at the same time. The hardest thing to do, sitting in my seat, sitting in Steve Mazur's seat, is call up a consultant and say you didn't get the job. And it happens. We get 10 procurements in 10 solicitations, and you got to tell 9 people, sorry, you didn't get it. So I'd rather increase everybody's odds, cut down on your paperwork, and move the project along. Lisa Navarro, who's a great engineer on our staff, she did a presentation one time, and I think she came up with 21 months that we actually saved on our schedule by bundling these OPSs on the Turnpike widening rather than going sequentially. 21 months is huge. So we feel good about how we're going to roll some of these things out. I think the consultants really have to be aggressive, and I think this is just an unbelievable time to be an engineer in the state of New Jersey and a contractor coming forward because of the fact that there's going to be significant work out there. In preparation for this, I looked at some quotes. I'm very well read, as you may be able to tell by my immense vocabulary. But there's one that said the opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like hard work. We have a lot of hard work in front of us, but it is a tremendous opportunity for consultants, contractors, for everyone to step up and really do well by their firm. The other one is your big opportunity may be right in front of where you are now. Of all my 32 years in the industry, and even before when I was in college working for a contractor, I can't remember a year when people were talking about $25 billion worth of work that's going to be out on the street. And myself and Steve Doherty and other agencies saying, we need you as part of our team. A lot of speeches, and we talked about we and together, because the Turnpike Authority does not design stuff. We do a little resurfacing, but we really don't design and we do not construct. So when I say we, I'm talking about the engineering groups and also the contractors in New Jersey. We worked very well with the contractors as well. Believe it or not, big contractors from outside of New Jersey came in when we were running the Turnpike widening and said, give me $2 billion, I'll build the whole thing, get out of my way. And there was actually a thought at one time about that. And how nice would be, we had 31 contracts, people, the coordination, the timing, the MPT, all that was crazy. You gave it to one guy, you say it's all on you. It probably would have been less work, but that's not fair to the people that we deal with day in and day out. And we broke up those contracts somewhere as small as a couple $1 million and somewhere as big as $160 million. But it is important to remember of who supported you through all the years. And the New Jersey contractors are tops, as are our consultants. So we're not going to go and, we want to work with the people that we've been working with for years, which are people here in New Jersey. I said a couple things that Diane had brought back to New Jersey, and there's two that I think are worth talking about. A lot of our projects talk about widenings, and they're not really widenings. When you get up in North Jersey, you can't necessarily widen the Parkway through Essex and Union County because there's neighborhoods right on top of you. You can't do it. So it should have been capacity enhancement. How can we get more vehicles through a section of roadway? I don't know if that involves mass transit. I don't know if it has any, we're open to ideas. So technology could play a big portion in this. So we actually have, it's basically a Shark Tank. And if you had a great idea as a consultant, as a contractor, as a manufacturer of something that could help us out, we gave an audience of people from different departments who would look at, it could be an app on your phone. How do you, using your app, you call ahead to the service area, you place your order, you pick it up. It's not revolutionary, but it is something that we should consider. Paying your tolls with your phone rather than with an Easy Pass transponder. Whatever, people are coming in and we're listening. I don't know how much we'll adapt, but we might do some of that in the future. And so we're looking at technology of how to provide a better riding experience for New Jerseyans and people passing through our state. The other concept that we started was allowing first-time engineering firms that haven't had an experience of working with the authority to come in and meet with the engineering department and to present what they have done. Maybe it's at a local level or out of state, but it gives an opportunity. When I was in engineering, a company would call and we would sit, maybe the chief engineer and two or three of us, and they would talk at a very high level, but the people scoring the proposals had no idea who this new company XYZ was. And it's very difficult on a resume to say, oh, wow, they did the same project in Pennsylvania and New York. So we brought the concept of getting the new consultants in front of our engineers as well. Now, both of those were on a monthly basis, and we had like 2 or 3 months, COVID hit, and we stopped. So as soon as we can get back in front of people, we will. Perhaps we'll do some of it online, but I firmly feel it's important to have the face-to-face interaction, and we would like to open that up again. So it's giving people more opportunities to get involved. So as I indicated earlier, we are looking to move out these projects. We're looking to do approximately $1 billion a year. As you all know, there will be a little bit of a startup, but I think you can expect a lot of OPSs.
Get a little delay, John.
Barrier, drainage, lighting repairs are some of the things that we're looking at for the immediate future, because that's work that's within our right of way that by and large will not need all that much permitting, that we can move things out on. And then you'll also be seeing design OPSs coming out on the street so that we will be ready for years 2, 3, 4 moving forward. It's an exciting time to be here at the authority. I think it's an exciting time to be in the transportation industry in the state of New Jersey. I really look forward to working with you all moving forward, and actually getting out face to face is something that I think is very important. You know, in Bill's long-winded, almost as long as my presentation, he gave me, we did talk about the engineering exchange. And the reason I think that was so important, and we did that through ACEC, is that the authority, I told, don't be too proud. If somebody can improve us in any way, shape, or form. So we basically went to the engineering group and as a whole and said, how can we get better? How can we improve upon our process? You know, oh, you guys do a great job in here, but maybe the Port Authority or maybe South Jersey does something better in this. Would you consider looking at it? And I think that's important, because we're not saying, oh, we're the biggest toll road in the world. What do you know? No, we are saying together, we need to advance a lot of projects. We don't want to spend any more money of yours than, you know, during the proposal stage, during the design phases. The Turnpike doesn't have a lot of pre-stages. Of the 43 projects, we're definitely looking at the Newark Bay Hudson County extension, all in, that's going to be almost $4.5 billion. That will have a preliminary engineering stage, 100%, because we don't know exactly where the roadway is going. We don't know exactly if we're using cable stay, what the span lengths are. But most of the other projects will be going straight to final design. Now, in the final design, there's a little bit, you know, the interchanges in South Jersey that aren't complete. You have a little liberty of how to do some of those, exactly where the ramp should go, and we will work that into the process. But we don't want to have paralysis by analysis by having too many phases there. The 1 to 4 widening on the Turnpike, it's right next to it. You know, we're adding a lane. We're not being circuitous with it. So we know we can go right to final design. It'll be interesting, because that I've already tasked engineering. How do you break that up? You don't have to break it up interchanges 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Maybe you do a contract that does all the local roads over. Maybe there's a pre-contract that clears something and builds the shoulders. I don't know, but we're looking at all that and how to deliver. I would think that the 1 to 4 widening would be brought on multiple consultants in one solicitation. You have a 3 times or 4 times the chance to win a project. We read as many proposals. You don't have to spend the amount of time and we move on and we're ahead of the game. So here at the authority, we're extremely happy for the opportunity to serve the governor, Transportation Commissioner Scacchetti, and moving this along. It is, you know, a challenging time. I can almost tell you the time and place when the former chief engineer Rosinski said, "Hey, Keller, by the way, you're going to run the 6 to 9 widening." You know, there was some trepidation in there. There was a lot of long nights and people yelling at you at public hearings and going through dealing with the DEP and other agencies. But in the end, you have to step up to the challenge. And, you know, I've been working with our people here. I do think it's a great opportunity internally, and I think it's a great opportunity for the consultants and contractors of New Jersey. So again, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with everybody. My last quote that I'll say is from the movie Apollo 13, and that is failure is not an option. So if it's a failure, the next executive director will be saying that guy before me was a schmo. He didn't know what he was doing. I'm very excited about this opportunity. I have to remind myself that I can't go back to engineering and make all the decisions. I will probably drive Chief Engineer Fisher to drink because I do want to be involved. And how often in anyone's career do you talk about $24 billion? And how often do we have the relationship between the toll roads that we have now, Parkway, Turnpike, South Jersey, that we are working as a single unit for the benefit of the people of New Jersey. So again, I appreciate the opportunity. I will try to answer any questions that you may have on the capital program. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, John. We appreciate you taking the time to run through that. And we've got a few questions coming in already. Jen Grenier, can you unmute yourself and please ask your question? Let's see.
Hello, everyone. John, I was just wondering, you know, what impact COVID had on the authority's toll collections and whether that had an impact on this overall program. And then, you know, have you started to see the numbers start to rebound on your toll collections yet?
Thank you. Great question. Yeah. Besides going through the stress of the public hearing process, the toll hearing process, yeah, COVID obviously hit on us. To date, to be honest with you, we have lost $192 million in toll collections. Back in April, we were losing approximately $2.7 million a day. We take in about 4.5 per day. This week, we are now, with those percentages, we're up at 50, 55, 60%. And we've seen an uptick all from about April all the way on. I'm happy to report that our losses now, instead of being in the 50 and 60 percentile, are down to the teens. Last week, we hit our first day, or a Monday, as a matter of fact, we hit our first day of losing less than $1 million, which is kind of weird to say. Well, I'm happy we only lost $1 million. It's kind of like my wife goes and buys something at the mall. It was on sale, so I saved you 40%, but we're moving in the right direction with respect to that. We've had some tremendous challenges, and I'll tell you what, the people here at the authority have stepped up really to their benefit, to our benefit, to everybody's. With the COVID process, we did take toll collection. We went cashless, which we were not ready to do. If you know anything about back offices and all the different protocols that they have, and it's not just the Turnpike, you also have other New Jersey toll roads that are all in the same group. So stepping cash in and out was a major undertaking for us. It tells you even more so why we need AET eventually for that. But we brought toll collectors back. We have we've had 29 cases of tested positive COVID cases in total since the beginning. The 29 number has remained consistent for the last month. Of the 29, 25 of them have returned to work. So of our more than 2,000 employees right now, we only have 4 that are out. We have a backlog of PPE, and we put a lot of protocol in place to keep people safe and healthy. I don't recall my course at school that taught you how to deal with COVID. I was probably out that day, but it is very difficult. It's kind of like being a coach and all the parents sitting on the sideline afterwards saying, I would have done this. Oh, he would have done that. Monday morning quarterbacking with COVID is rampant. And I can say that I believe the authority made the best possible decision with the information that we had at the time to move forward. And that's all you can ask. It was ironic that back in February, I was asked to speak at IBTTA, which is an International Bridge Toll and Turnpike Association, with all the toll roads from around the world. And they have a leadership academy that approximately 35 people attend on a yearly basis. And they asked me to give a speech on crisis management. And the date was February 27th, I believe, where COVID was just starting. And so you do a lot of research. Crisis management is really something that is interesting to deal with. Some people do well with stress, others do not. I think it's easy to have a plan in place, but when something like this hits, it's no two crises are the same. One could be you're flooded out. The other one is it's a snowstorm. The next thing is your workforce isn't available because they're sick or hurt or afraid to come to work. Another great quote from a great literary genius is Mike Tyson. And he said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And COVID was just that. It was a punch in the face. I think the authority has done well. We did some refi of our money. We think we're going to make it out. And also, I'm giving a lot of quotes. You might actually think I'm well read, but in Chinese, there's two brushstrokes to do the word crisis, and one is danger, and the other one is opportunity. And I do think that there is an opportunity in crisis that we just went through. We have paved more than we ever have with our resurfacing contracts. We would put down 2,000 tons in a session, in a night, and we have put down 7,500 tons because the roadways were clear of traffic. So we were able to get our contractors to work through the day rather than at night. There was no reason to do a pickup at 5 a.m. when there's not going to be traffic. Keep going. So I think our roadways, we have actually just gone past 70% of our resurfacing for the year. We're already at that mark now. Typically, we'd probably be in the 25%, and then it hits big in September, October, November, or we don't get it done for the year. So there have been some opportunities through COVID that we are taking advantage of. I think the technology portion of it is huge, that we realized how we had to ramp up our technology and get people laptops to be able to work from home. We're looking at pushing ourselves paperless a lot more than we ever had. It was the catalyst to look at many of our traditional processes and make changes to it. So I apologize for a 10-minute answer to a very good question, but there have been great opportunities during this that they have not all been bad. And also, we've seen some people really step up at all different levels of the authority that I think is great. That you see the character of people, and we certainly are lucky to have good people here.
Great.
Thank you.
We have another question. Richard Israel, are you able to? I just unmuted you. Could you ask your question?
Sure. Thanks, John. Yeah, everybody says there was no playbook for the pandemic.
Can you speak up a little bit or a little? I'm missing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is Rich Israel. I was wondering to what extent your capital program budgets might be dependent on federal funds that aren't committed and are subject to the political winds in Washington.
Sure. I don't know if we're blessed or cursed, but we don't really get any federal money. We have, through IBTTA and other agencies in the Northeast, applied for some recovery money. We're not really counting on that. That would be great if it came about. Typically, the authority does not get involved with federal monies. I say that, but interchanges 9, 10, and 11 down in South Jersey was done as a federal contract. We appreciated their money, but it also adds significant time and oversight to our process. So we pick and choose and with them of what projects are going to get federal monies. We will never look an opportunity, or never dismiss that. There is one project that here that is I'm looking at my the big board, as I call it, flood zone remediation between Bass Rivers, Mullica River, and the Great Egg Harbor. It's 7 miles of raising the Parkway to get it above the 100-year floodplain. It's $1.4 billion with a B dollars to do that project. And we have looked to the feds that potentially help us there. And we are on the short list to get some federal grant money. We're looking at a much more modest number to move some flood remediation projects forward. So COVID has not really impacted our capital program. There's different tranches, I should say, of money. Being an engineer, I'm learning my accounting as quickly as possible. But no, we feel good that we'll be able to have this capital program as laid out, that COVID has impacted that. It has impacted other projects, smaller projects, and our operating, but not our capital program. We feel very comfortable that we'll be able to move it forward. With that said, some of the people that we're relying on to move it forward may not be in this office, and we have to look at the opportunity to potentially get them back in the office on a more consistent manner. And we are dealing with the Governor's Authorities Unit on that to transition some people back sooner than later in order to move the program along.
Okay, good. So, John, thanks again. We're coming up on 3 o'clock. I wanted to just take a minute to introduce Marlene Aselta. She's the president of the NJTA, and just wanted her just to say a couple of words, and we've got a couple of things coming up in the near future. So Marlene, are you unmuted? Can you speak? Let's see.
Now?
Yep, gotcha.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, John. Excellent information. What struck me is there's so much that's going out on RFPs, as you mentioned. And I just wanted to mention to the guests that are joining us today, we do an RFP rundown, which is just a compilation of RFPs out in the atmosphere. So we'll look to you to gather some information, get it on our notice, and ours goes out every other week. So hopefully that'll give you some new engineers and construction managers and et cetera. But thank you. The information was great. We're excited about it. We're hoping that more transportation dollars are spent in South Jersey than ever before. We've been singing this tune since 1951, so I think many online have heard it many times. But I did want to say a big thank you to Gary Holfish, Bill Brooks, Jen Grenier, Richard Hortzman. They managed this Transportation Aviation Committee very well. And I thank them for that. And I thank Ben, who works with us and did a great job, because I certainly wouldn't know what to do with all this technology. So that was great. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We do have a date for the commissioner of the DOT. It is September 3rd. So mark your calendar. It will either be virtually or it will be in person at Rowan University. So I'm kind of holding my fingers crossed for an in-person meeting, but we just don't know. And the other thing I'll mention to our committee co-chairs, We've heard from the DRBA, Bay Authority, and Atlantic County Economic Alliance asking to make room on our agenda for them. And if we're doing something in person, I'd like to thank Steve Doherty in advance for allowing us to come and meet at his facility, which he's so gracious about. So those are just
He
items
said
that
he
are
would take
coming
you
up.
all out to lunch too.
Yeah,
And Steve will take you all out to lunch, and then Steve Mazer will take you to dinner. So you get lunch and dinner at South Jersey.
yeah, great guys, aren't they? Really great guys. And we've been working with the NJTA for so many years now. I've been around for 35, but this relationship goes back well before I was around. So thank you to the South Jersey Transportation Authority guys that are online. And with that, I would wish you safety, be well, stay safe, and I'll turn this back over to Gary. Thank you.
Yeah, Marlene, thank you. John, thank you very much for speaking. We know how super busy you are, and taking the time to speak with us and talk about your program is just terrific. So thanks again, and thank everyone for joining the program today. We really appreciate it. Everybody stay safe, stay well. Take care now.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. See you.